No sound. Anyway, I was saying that we're on our way to church and I'm going to put my face on there. It'll take me like 5 minutes to put my face on, so I don't have to worry about that. I'll do it when I get there in the bathroom. No problems. I got everything in my purse. So I'll see you when we get to church.
Spell practice?
Alright, y'all. We're home. I'm going to go get undressed because it's Sunday and I don't like being dressed on Sundays. I'll walk around the house with my house coat on. And then I'm going to do all my prayers, and then I shall return. We have to do wrap up today, so today I shall return, don't you worry. Yeah, so I'll be back in a little bit. I just wanted to give you this quick update that we're home and I'm going to get undressed later for now. I finally finished her purse. It took me a while because I had to work on it in between working on this one for Barry Lynn, which I still have to get rid of the excess threads, as you know, here. Oh wait, no, those are not excess threads. Those are part of the straps. The straps that wrap around the buttons to close up the purse. Anyway, that's Barry Lynn's, hers, and I made this one for Mary Lynn. Isn't it beautiful? I literally embroidered little tiny pink roses all around it. I worked very hard, and I also put on pink and white pearls. I think it clashes with all the colors of her dress. It's perfect. So I'm going to share a video with you guys, and then I have some things I have to do. I have prayers, and I have a sermon to watch. By the way, I asked my priest if it would be a sin if I watched Protestant sermons. I was honest. I said, I get edified, so please don't tell me it's a sin. And then he's like, it's not a sin. I'm like, really? He's like, no, it's some of them have really good teachings. I listen to sermons. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, he's like, so don't worry, dear. It's all good. It's all good. And I'm like, yay, because I get really edified by some sermons. And he's like, that's good. That's good. Whatever brings you closer to the Lord. I'm like, that's awesome. So I have a sermon I'm going to watch today. A brand new one. And I'm really glad that it's not a sin to watch sermons. I won't be attending any other church services, of course, because that would be a sin to participate in a religion that's not mine. But listening to sermons is apparently okay because it's just theology. It's just teachings, right? So that's fine. So good. And also, I have to weigh it against my own faith doctrine. A foundation. So whatever doesn't sound right, I obviously would know that it doesn't sound right, right? So anyway, so I will share this video that I compiled yesterday, and it's very, very interesting, and I think that some of you will enjoy it. It will also be on my YouTube later tonight. As you guys know, I upload every night. So if you want to watch it and actually, crochet the actual bandana, you can. It'll be up on YouTube later tonight, and then you can pause it and follow along with the instructions, okay? So I'll see you in a little bit later for now.
This is Crystal, and welcome to my channel, Homemaking on the Homestead. Today we are going to be discussing homemaking skills, important and valuable homemaking skills that I think most all homemakers need. And this is number 5 in my series, and we are going to be talking about sewing and a little bit of touching on crocheting, knitting, cross-stitch, embroidery, things like that, domestic arts. But mostly I'm kind of focusing on sewing because there's only so much time in a video. If you haven't seen my other 4 videos, I will have them in the description box below linked. And also the video that I did, which kind of kicked off the series for me, which is homemaking, is it a lost art? And I will link that up here as well as down in the description box below. Back to sewing. I think sewing is such a valuable and important skill for young women to know. to be taught at young ages. I taught myself how to sew. I had $25 and I bought myself a used sewing machine that was just a really basic old sewing machine. It could go forwards, it could go backwards, and that was it. There was nothing fancy, but on that little sewing machine I created so much clothing. I was pregnant with my first child and I made myself little maternity sundresses and shirts and shorts, and I got, basic patterns from the fabric store, teach yourself to sew or teach you to sew. I was fortunate because I had a very good friend. Her name was Sandy. If you're watching this, Sandy, hi, we're still friends today. She knew how to sew much better than I did, and she had also taught herself. But if I ran into a problem, I could always pick up the phone and she would help me out. That began my true love for sewing. Over the years, I have sewed so many things that I can't even begin to calculate or compile them. Like I say, I just have absolutely loved it. There is something so powerful about the ability to sew. If you can't find the curtains that you like, no problem, make your own. If you can't find a modest dress for your preteen daughter or granddaughter, you know what? You don't need to worry about it because you can make one. If you need to have a last minute gift for somebody, no problem. You can sit down in the sewing machine and whip out a little apron. It's amazing on what a person can do. It feeds your creativity to know how to sew. It also provides your home with something useful. It's a wonderful combination of the two. Okay, between drinking hot tea and it getting warmer, I had to take off my sweater. But in any case, in the times past, my grandmother's day for sure, sewing was a must-have skill. You had to know how to sew. It was also a way of being resourceful. Back in the 1930s, flour sacks were made out of fabric, and they started actually putting prints on the flour sacks so that women could take those sacks and reuse them. I've read stories of girls that they would have flour sack dresses. They were used for quilts. They had always had a way to repurpose things, and it's something that we don't do anymore. If something is ripped or broken or whatever, we throw it away. Something similar happened this winter to me. I have wool socks. I love wool socks, and wool socks can be a little bit more on the expensive side to buy, and I started getting holes in a pair that I've had for quite a while. I thought, you know what? I need to learn how to darn socks. Well, winter's come to an end and I haven't learned how to do that yet, but it is on my to-do list and get more life out of the money that I spend, be more resourceful with what I have. And sewing is a great way to do that. When my girls were younger, they learned how to make skirts out of blue jeans. And those were fun products. They either used the rest of the jean legs, for the centerpieces, or they got fabric and would use that. We made book bags out of jeans. I made 2 or 3 blue jean quilts. As my kids grew out of the jeans, if they couldn't wear them, I put them in a pile, and as soon as I had enough jeans, I started cutting squares. Walmart at some point put on plaid flannel fabric for sale. I cut the opposite squares out of the flannel. I had an old blanket that was otherwise ready to be tossed, really, because it was getting fairly thin. I used that as the batting, and I bought a flat sheet and I put that on the back of the quilt. There are so many ways to be resourceful with the things that we have, and we don't even think like that anymore. And sewing gives us the opportunity to be able to turn something that might otherwise be thrown away into something new, or just simply to mend it and fix it. I think some of the reason that things like sewing and knitting and crochet have maybe not as popular nowadays as they used to be has something to do with the fact that our society holds in high value. They esteem pursuits outside of the home, and pursuits inside the home are looked down upon. I don't think that either of those things should be looked down upon. There's nothing wrong with pursuits outside of the home, and there is nothing wrong with the pursuits inside of the home. We need to be a voice, because I don't hear very many voices out there esteeming these types of domestic arts and encouraging people. I think when I think of the term home, it brings to my mind not so much the physical features of a home, but the feelings, the essence of what home means. It means cozy, it means safe, it means warm, it means peaceful. And I'm always amazed how homemade things in a home can enhance that so much. Handmade Afghan, crocheted and on the back of the couch, homemade curtains on the windows, a homemade quilt. I mean, if you have a quilt from your mother or grandmother, you treasure that. And I think that those things bring a unique character to our homes and a uniqueness that is hard to replicate with things that you buy. Now, that's not to say that if you buy things in the store that you're not going to have warm and cozy and all that good kind of stuff, because you can, and I've seen it. But it provides that character to our homes that is so vitally important. And it passes down these arts for many generations to come. They could otherwise maybe be lost. Sewing is an inexpensive way to decorate our homes. One of the things that I have done over time is to make curtains and comforter covers for my kids' rooms. I was able to take the comforter that I was currently on the bed. There was really nothing wrong with it other than the outside of it was getting threadbare. I bought sheets, flat sheets, which were less expensive than fabric, and I bought a little bit of coordinating fabric, and I used those two things together to create covers for the comforters and to put curtains on the windows. One of the things that I have heard people talk about today is with the cost of fabric, you have to ask yourself, is it really necessarily the most frugal thing to do? But there are ways to be frugal with your sewing. Like I said, buying the flat sheets for the comforter covers, and I've used flat sheets to make curtains. I've also found fabric at thrift stores. Also reusing and repurposing, like I mentioned with the blue jean quilt. I read an article where a lady had done that with women's shirts. She actually would find prints on the shirts being sold at garage sales and thrift stores and turn that into a very pretty quilt. Aprons are something that I have made I probably hundreds of. For quite a while I made them and sold them online, but prior to that I had made them for myself. I had made them as gifts, and they're just a wonderful, easy thing, a great project for a first-time sewer. Simple things like table runners to go with each season of the year are great, simple, first-time projects. There's just so many things that you can do that enhances your creativity and gives you something useful and beautiful for your home. Crocheting and knitting is another wonderful skill to have. I learned to crochet when I was about 8 years old. A neighbor lady, very sweet neighbor lady, older woman, had taught me how to crochet, and I kind of just took off from there. Over the years, I have crocheted many things like Afghans, made baby blankets. I have made hats and scarves. One of the funnest projects I did was just 2 or 3 years ago. I crocheted hats for all of my grandchildren, and that was such a fun project to do, and it really didn't take me that long. Sewing is a wonderful way to add beauty and exercise your creativity, and I encourage all women to try their hand at it if you have never sewn before. Also, the knitting and the crocheting, I have seen some beautiful work. I've seen cross-stitch pictures hanging on people's walls, embroidery, intricate embroidery done on pillowcases. My grandmother had several that she had done, and they were always just so pretty and so beautiful. And it just gives home a beauty and creativity and feel that just cannot be matched any other way. That wraps up today's video on important homemaking skills, and I appreciate you watching. And remember, if you like this video, would you please give it a thumbs up? And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, would you consider subscribing if you enjoy my content? I really appreciate that.
Learn simple skills like crocheting. Crocheting doesn't take that much time to learn, and it only took me 3 years to master crocheting. I started off just making simple flowers and granny squares. Those are the most simple ways that you can learn how to start crocheting. And then you can literally look at a pattern and see exactly how the pattern is laid out, and you can make whatever you're looking at. Like, I can look at something and know exactly how it was made and crocheted, and I can do it. Knitting, on the other hand, has still been a challenge for me even after 5 years of trying. And so knitting is a lot harder, I find, than crocheting, which is why most homemakers will just crochet. However, if you can fall in love with knitting and you can master knitting before crocheting, then all the power to you. And I'm very happy because I am just not that patient for it. And for me, everything is sewing and crocheting. I can sew, crochet, and I can embroider. No problem. I don't use a sewing machine. I freehand sew, and I do a pretty good job. You can't tell that it's been hand sewn. I do it like a machine, basically. And I thought that this would be a perfect pattern for those who are just coming into head covering. Why not start with something that's cute that you can literally make with your own hands? Very simple, very elegant, and you can wear it around the house to start off with. Maybe one time forget and take and wear it when you're going to the store. I'm pretty sure you'll get lots of compliments. I always do. And yeah, then as soon as you learn how to do simple things like this, you can make your own handbags like I'm currently doing. You can also crochet pockets for your aprons like I'm currently doing. You can even learn how to crochet a whole apron if you want. I wouldn't suggest that though, because washing aprons, you would have to do it by hand, because when you knit or crochet, it would be better to wash by hand and like drip dry or air dry than it would be to put it in the wash machine, because you don't want the stitching to undo, right? So that's why I usually sew my aprons, because then I don't have to worry about putting it in the wash. I can put it inside of a pillowcase and let it go tumble, But I thought this was a really cute design, and I'm actually going to make one. And mine's probably not going to be green. It's going to be pink and white. And mine might not have a flower, but maybe a bow. And I'm going to share with you the crocheting videos for the flower, for a bow, and for other cute little things that you can do. The one I might be making for myself will probably have a granny cross, so I can give you the tutorial for that as well. It's a very cute little tutorial, and that's how I make my bookmarks. I really, really love making bookmarks. The other day I just made one for my new Bible, the Catholic Women's Devotional Bible for Catholic Women's Studies. I just whipped one up. It didn't take long. It takes 5 minutes. And so I thought this would be a cute little video for you guys to possibly learn how to crochet a cute little headband for yourself as a beginner head cover, if that's what you are called to do and God is speaking to you about head covering. I use a variety of different head covers. I use the traditional bandana sometimes at home when I'm just doing like simple things around the house, like cleaning or cooking and baking. And then other times I'll use the scarf and I'll wrap it around my head. And other times I'll just put the scarf on my head like a veil. And I also have several veils for traditional veiling when I'm at church and whatnot. So there are several different ways that I do head covering, but I think that the best way to feel more feminine is to make something with your hands that was yours, originally yours. And it's just a beautiful way to continue a tradition that seems to be dying out. Crocheting is not something that everybody knows how to do. And when you see something in the store, you're like, oh, I wonder how that was made. And then, like, if you're like me, then you're wondering, how was that made? And then I wanted to learn how to crochet for the longest time. And 5 years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn how to crochet because I think it's a very feminine thing to do. So I got myself a nice cup of tea and I sat down and I practiced and practiced, and I failed a lot at the beginning. Actually, a lot. But when I made my first perfect flower and my first perfect granny cross and my first perfect granny square, I was so happy. And I was like, this is good, you know? And so I never stopped, and I just continued from there, and I've learned how to do so many other things since then. I crocheted myself a book cover. I crocheted myself purses, wallets. My mom little purses and wallets, and I sent them to her. Mostly I do bookmarks, but I do a lot of other things too. I've made a little bag recently with flowers and the Sacred Heart of Jesus on them. I did, the sorrowful Immaculate Heart of Mary. I've crocheted so much, you guys, and I just love crocheting. So I will share with you so many beautiful videos of crocheting flowers and bows and even bonnets if you want, so that you can wear a bonnet at home. Like, sometimes I feel like, having a bonnet on my head because I'm watching The Little House on the Prairie, and I'm going to crochet a bonnet. I'll share those crocheting videos, but not in like a formal video like this. This is going to be part of the Beauty of Femininity series that I'm making, and I want to stick to specific things for just that. So that's why I made just the crocheting, and then the head covering, the skincare routine, quick makeup tutorial. I'm thinking about many other ideas of how I can show you guys the beauty of femininity, and I just really enjoy doing these videos for you. And I hope that you guys find some value in these videos as well. And and wisdom. There's lots of wisdom to be learned. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, is share wisdom, how to be frugal, how to be more resourceful, how to be a true feminine homemaker, and how to only give and give and give and give to your family in the best way possible, and bring more beauty and femininity to the world, because we definitely need more of that. And for everything else, read Proverbs 31. The whole chapter. It's perfect. See you guys later. All right, guys, let's do this wrap up. So, reflecting on discreet. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Galatians 5:22 through 23. Temperance is a fruit of the Spirit. Traits of a good helpmeet. A good helpmeet grows in grace and knowledge. She is gracious and honest. She is without guile toward her husband. Getting serious with God. Do not be deceived. If you regularly use people as babysitters, visit around too often, ask for rides here and there, or frequently borrow other people's things, they might tolerate your selfishness, but they will never really like you. You will be secretly spoken of as a nuisance instead of a friend. No one ever really likes a user. A wise woman always gives more than she takes. Words God uses to describe a godly woman. Locate in a concordance every time the following words are used. Mark the words that describe you. Beside the words where you know you are lacking, put an X. Write out beside each word what you are going to start doing that will bring you closer to becoming what God desires. Chaste, sober, modest, shamefacedness, meek, quiet spirit, in subjection, obedient, kind, virtuous, prudent, good, discreet, keeper at home, gracious. A wise woman knows how her words can color her husband's perspective. She can subtly move him to the negative or the positive. Now, I think I spoke about this yesterday, about a woman's literal just walking into a room can change the atmosphere of a room. I've talked about it many times, actually. But yesterday I brought it back up when I made a post about how women can just be sitting and drinking a cup of tea, and a man will just walk by her and notice her just because she's, sitting pretty, or she gives off a calming aura or something about her, just catches his attention. You know what I mean? She's not being loud, obnoxious, out there, flashy, fancy, high maintenance. Men really don't like that. They like a quiet, they like subtlety, reserved, discreet, private, and like mysterious a little bit, and it's easy to give that to a man when you first meet them. As they get to know you, then they'll get to know your mannerisms a lot better, and it should only improve if you follow the biblical womanhood steps. It should only improve from there. That's not to say that there won't be any disagreements. There will be, but the way you handle them is how your relationship will either strengthen or dissolve. And so in any relationship, the goal is to have proper communication and very clear communication, right? So if you guys are having a disagreement, make sure first that it wasn't a misunderstanding, that the disagreement is that one of you agrees on something and the other one does not, and then discuss it. And ultimately, if he's the one that's deciding, then you have to submit if you're married. If he's just your boyfriend, you don't have to. But if you're married, you better submit. No matter if you like the idea or not. For real. Being discreet is a lot of things. One of the greatest things you can do for your husband is be discreet, especially about things that are nobody else's business. Like when you're having a conversation and somebody calls you, for instance, let's say it's a very important call. Like I've given this example before. I was at the store and my sister had called me about my mother, and I really needed to take the call because I needed to know what was going on with my mom. And so I had went outside. Instead of being in the store walking around letting other people hear my conversation, I went outside. That's a way to be discreet. If there's a conversation going on between you and your husband discreetly and you have a disagreement, you wait until you go home. And I had this conversation too. That one time, the last time that we went shopping, I had a spaz attack because I got upset with him. And I should have just shut up. And I didn't shut up soon enough, but I did end up shutting up, which was good, until we got home. And then we both made up by then. It was already done and over with before we even got home. But the point is, I should have known better and I should have stopped. You know what I mean? Sooner than later. At least I didn't make a huge... I wasn't like super loud, but still, I embarrassed him. So that was my bad. And so we now have more precautions in place for next time when we go out so that that doesn't happen again. I have to work doubly hard next time. And that's next Wednesday, basically. On the 5th. Yeah. So I have to, between now and then, practice a lot of discretion and prudence and temperance. Lots. And modesty. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to do it. I do pretty good, but I could have done way better that day. I could have done way better. You don't want to dishonor your husband like that. You don't want to embarrass him at all, okay? It's wrong. And I'm glad I realized I was in the wrong and I asked him for forgiveness. Not many women do that, but I knew I was wrong, so. Anyway, other than that, tomorrow's our new chapter, which we'll be going over tomorrow evening. Right now, I don't feel that good, so I'm probably going to head off to bed because I don't feel good. I ate. I had too many teas, and then I had Boost and too much dairy, I think. Now I don't feel good, so I'm going to go to bed early. And I've been really tired today for some reason, just really wiped out. So I'm going to head to bed. I'll catch you guys at 4:45 in the morning when I make breakfast and lunch for everybody. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in the morning. And I hope that everybody had a wonderful Sunday. Sundays aren't usually a long video anyway, so this was a good video. And then tomorrow I'm putting the first one up of head covering for the beauty of femininity. And then Wednesday will be for the crocheting, okay? And then I will add the other videos into my stories for the flower, the bow, and Granny Cross. And I'm also going to be talking about the importance of modesty this week and chastity. All right? Okay. That's what we're going to be talking about this week. Chastity. And so I'll see you tomorrow at 4:45 in the morning. God bless. Hope everybody had a wonderful Sunday. Later for now. See you tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Later for now.